Welcome to this explainer on the temporal alchemy of habits. Okay, let's jump right into this, because today we are tackling a struggle that literally every single one of us deals with. I mean, we all know that incredibly frustrating feeling, right? Why is doing the right thing, lacing up your shoes for a run or prepping a healthy meal, so incredibly hard, while doing the wrong thing, like devouring a donut or totally bailing on a workout, feels so effortless? We constantly beat ourselves up over it. We think, oh, I just lack willpower, or there's some fundamental flaw in my character. But honestly, what if we've been looking at habit formation entirely wrong this whole time? What if the secret to mastering our behavior has absolutely nothing to do with moral discipline? Today we are exploring some fascinating source material to break down exactly why our brains seem to betray us, and more importantly, how we can completely flip the script. So I want you to ask yourself a question right off the bat. Who is paying the bill for your habits? Seriously, think about the choices you make every single day, even the really small ones, the ones that seem totally insignificant. Who actually suffers and who actually benefits from those specific choices? Because when you think about it, every single action you take is essentially a transaction. You're buying an outcome. But the catch, and it's a big one, is that the person making the purchase isn't always the person who ends up having to pay the bill.
Think about your bad habits for a second. Junk food, procrastination, mindless doom scrolling. They feel so cheap in the moment, don't they? I mean, it tastes good. It's easy. It instantly scratches that itch. You get that massive dopamine hit right now, this very second. Boom! But now, compare that to your good habits. Exercising, eating clean, sitting down to read a dense book, or putting money into savings. When you do those things, you feel the cost immediately. Your muscles literally burn. The junk food cravings constantly nag at you. The money you put into savings, well, that's money you absolutely do not get to spend today. Good habits demand your discipline right now. They create immediate, unavoidable friction.
Which brings us to part one, the true cost of habits and where the true payoff actually lies.
See, there is a really stark contrast in what happens after that present moment fades away. The return on investment for good habits is severely delayed. It's your future self that actually gets the ultimate reward. We're talking vibrant health, deep knowledge, compounding wealth, and real mental resilience. But then, consider the future costs of those bad habits. Remember that cheap thrill you bought earlier? The real cost wasn't canceled. It was just deferred. Eventually, your future self is going to get handed that massive bill, and it comes in the devastating form of poor health, wasted time, heavy regret, crushing debt, and a deeply diminished potential. The indulgence is right now, but the devastation, that's delayed.
Moving right along to part two, front-loaded versus back-loaded. This is all about the timing of pain and pleasure.
Ultimately, it just comes down to timing. Good habits are front-loaded with pain and heavily back-loaded with benefits. You just have to be willing to take the hit up front. You absorb the pain, the sweat, the denial today, so that your future self can reap those massive benefits tomorrow. Bad habits, on the other hand, are the exact opposite. They are front-loaded with pleasure and entirely back-loaded with pain. They hand you this tiny, fleeting bit of pleasure right now, but they backload an absolute mountain of misery for your future self to deal with down the line.
Okay, part three, the habit credit system. Let's look at cash versus credit.
I absolutely love this financial metaphor from the source text because it makes things so clear. Think of your habits as two entirely different financial systems. With good habits, it's exactly like paying cash up front. Sure, it hurts a little bit today to part with that cash, but once you pay it, you own the asset forever. The health, the knowledge, it's yours, free and clear. But with bad habits, you aren't paying cash. You're essentially swiping a pleasure card. You get the item today with zero upfront cost, but you definitely didn't get it for free. You basically took out a high-interest loan against your future self, and that interest endlessly compounds into future misery. You'll literally keep paying for that junk food or that wasted afternoon for years to come.
Let's dive into part four, wired for instant gratification and the psychology behind our choices. Listen, if you have ever felt like you are fighting a completely losing battle against your own brain, it's actually because of a behavioral psychology concept called temporal discounting. Our human wiring literally sets us up to fail at this. From an evolutionary standpoint, think about our ancestors. They didn't even know if they'd survive the week without being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, right? So it made perfect evolutionary sense to devour the calories and rest right now. Because of this baked-in wiring, our brains naturally overvalue instant gratification, and they drastically undervalue delayed rewards. Your brain literally discounts the value of your future health because it's just too far away to feel real to you today.
So how on earth do we outsmart millions of years of human evolution? Well, the trick is active reframing.
If your brain looks at a healthy salad and frames it as present denial, like you're just obsessing over the fast food you aren't getting to eat right now, you are eventually going to lose that willpower battle. It's inevitable. But if you can cognitively reframe that exact same salad as future strength, you completely change the game. You stop hyper-focusing on the front-loaded pain, and you mentally pull that back-loaded benefit right into the present moment. You really have to actively connect your current action to that future asset.
And that brings us to part 5. Habits are time machines, where your actions determine your destiny.
Let's look at how the time machine of a good habit actually functions. Right now, in the present moment, you make the hard choice. You eat the salad, you go to the gym. You endure that friction. Now, in the near future, yeah, you might feel a little disappointed. You missed out on the sugar high. You're exhausted from the workout. But as that time machine travels into the distant future, the result becomes crystal clear. You arrive at immense future health, strength, and vitality. That short-term discomfort successfully transported you to a vastly superior future reality.
Now contrast that. Imagine hopping into the time machine of a bad habit. In the present, you stay on the couch and just start doom scrolling. It's totally effortless. In the near future, that instant itch is scratched. You feel entertained, you feel super relaxed. But the time machine doesn't stop there. It keeps going, and it mercilessly drops you off in the distant future, where you are suddenly faced with diminished potential, profound regret, and the crushing, compounding interest of all those swiped pleasure cards.
It really is this simple. Every single small action determines who actually foots the bill. Is it your present self or your future self? Every time you skip a workout, you are literally handing a bill to your future self. But every time you push through a tough task, your present self is graciously paying the bill so your future self can live debt-free. You are, quite literally, designing the life of the person you are going to become tomorrow, next month, and 10 years from now.
It all boils down to an incredibly empowering, but admittedly harsh reality. Good habits equal short-term discomfort for long-term freedom. You are buying your freedom with today's discipline. Bad habits, though, they equal short-term comfort for long-term slavery. You are effectively selling your future freedom just for the price of being comfortable right now.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one final stark question. When you finish watching this and go about the rest of your day, you're going to face dozens of small choices. In those moments, when you feel that heavy pull of temporal discounting, I want you to stop and ask yourself, what am I actually choosing right now? Am I choosing short-term discomfort for long-term freedom, or am I choosing short-term comfort for long-term slavery? The choice is entirely yours, but remember, the clock is always ticking. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this incredibly powerful concept, and I truly hope it helps you rethink your very next decision.